Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Retro Collection Leia in Hoth outfit, or as the card states, just Leia Hoth. If you don't know by now, this particular wave for 2020 is exclusive to Walmart. Looking at the card back, I think things look great here, very much like the original release back in, 80 or whatever. But you do have Leia in her Hoth outfit, standing on the Millennium Falcon. Through the blister, you do see the included figure and accessory, and then you do get that large Retro Collection sticker off to the side, along with the white worn edges being printed on the card. On the back, everything is the same here as the rest of the Retro Collection line. Top part giving you a brief write-up, letting you know this line was inspired by the 1980s Star Wars figures. Just below that in the red, you get your listing of the other individually carded figures that are available in this wave. And then, of course, your legal information. Taking a look at the figure out of the packaging, this is yet another one I don't have an original to compare with, so I had to do some online research to kind of see how things matched up. Much of the same things apply to this figure as they do for the others. Your lines of definition within the sculpt are just a little bit softer because this is based on a sculpt of the figure and not the original sculpt used to create the figure. Some other noticeable differences between the two figures, from what I could tell, the eyes this time around are not painted in the same manner. And I guess I should say more the application itself or the way it was done. On the original figure, it seemed like they were a little bit bigger and made her face look a little brighter, or the look of the eyes. This time around, though, things are a little bit thinner. As preferences go for me, I like the look of the original figure better. Pink lips this time around. Actually, even just the painting in general for the lips don't seem quite right. They're very small and petite also, and more pink in color this time. They were done in a darker color for the original figure. And then for the outfit, the majority of the white this time around is kind of an off-white instead of the bright white from the original figure. And the tan coat and her, in this case, they're kind of a greenish tint boots, are also a little bit darker than the original release. That aside, I quite like what they tried to do with this figure back in the 80s for the original release. They did a fairly good job of recreating her hairdo with the braids going along the top of the head, and then even looping around to the back side where she's got a bun. Like I said, a lot of the lines are softer on this new figure, but you still can certainly make out the detailing that they tried to put in there. So in that respect, as a vintage figure, I quite like that. Painting on the face remains simple, which is par for the course on those figures. You get in her eyebrows, her eyes painted in, and aside from the size of the way they did her eyes, they still did a good job giving you a little bit of separation for the pupils, and maybe they're trying to give her some eyeliner or just show some definition of the eyes itself, some shadow or something, but it looks good. Also, I didn't mention that the face this time around seems to lean a little more in the yellow color. In the hand, if you don't have the two figures, I don't think that's something that's going to be all that noticeable. Doesn't really stand out to me as I look at just this one figure. As for the arms and chest, I think you get in a decent representation of how it looked in the movie, but I would not say that that vest was brown. Maybe a dirty white or something. There just wasn't this much of a difference in color, and that even goes for the original vintage figure. Aside from that, nice quilted detailing being done at the top of the shoulder and on the forearms of the jacket, and then throughout the midsection of the vest itself. Decent black painting of the emblem on her upper left side of her chest. On the forearm of her left arm, you've got a comm link being sculpted in, kind of raised out above the coat. Simple black painting for that, mostly staying right where it needs to be. A little bit of a mismatch of color at the top of her legs to the center portion of that vest. It's leaning a little more peach color, so it doesn't blend together that well. To note, the center chest is molded in that tan plastic, while for the top of the legs, they are trying to paint over a white color, so that's most likely the reason for that variance in tone. Along the back side of the figure, much of the same going on. You got that quilted pattern for the lower 2/3 of the vest. And then for the legs, pretty good representation of her outfit here also, with that quilted pattern being done on the front of her thighs. Mostly smooth plastic aside from that going around the leg. You do have some subtle folds being sculpted in around the bend of the knee. And the boots are looking fairly good also. Again, coloring in this figure is looking a little green. But otherwise, I like the detailing of the ankle straps wrapping around the boot. As for the articulation, you got a full swivel at the head. Both arms rotate at the shoulder. Legs come straight out. And nothing really back to brag about. She does come with a single accessory, which is her blaster. This is Leia's blaster. Aside from some of the lines, once again, being a little bit softer than the original release. And also in this case, it's all black and not done in a blue plastic. I think overall, things are looking pretty good. You can still make out some of that texturing being done at the barrel of the blaster, giving you a couple rings wrapping around in there. You still got some nice texturing being placed on the handle of the blaster, and she holds it quite well in her right hand. So overall for me, while there are some differences with the original release, I don't mind. It still seems very close to what they did back in the 80s. And I think with that representation in mind of doing a figure that was done in the 80s and for how this looked, I think overall it is a good figure. I think overall it's identifiable as being Princess Leia in the Hoth gear. And as a kid, that was pretty much what you wanted. So that wraps this one up. Definitely let me know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.